Hello, everyone. My name is Elijah Desmond. I'm the co-owner of Driven Dental Implant Marketing. Welcome to Drive Your Practice with Dental Implants. This is also the co-owner, Charles Biami, who is the man behind the scenes to get you all those leads. And then we have the amazing one and only founder of My Social Practice, Jack Hadley. How you doing today, Jack?
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me. I've been looking forward to it.
Awesome. Good stuff. Charles, do you have anything that you want to preface this live cast while these viewers are jumping on?
Oh, I'm excited to have Jack on. I recently met him face to face for the first time at the Dental Digital Marketing Conference out in Vegas that the My Social Practice was sponsoring, and it was a really great event. And so there was a lot of great, I think, conversations that came out of that conference for me. And I want to share some of that with some of our listeners, our clients and prospective clients about how to use social media to attract high value patients. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I think there's a lot of good stuff we're going to get into.
Great.
Awesome. And so, what we do is we figured, so many different offices struggle with different areas in their office, whether it's social media, or it is answering the phones or closing cases. There's so many different obstacles in the offices, especially as it relates to high value cases. So instead of us giving all of the advice, we just go out to the experts in the industry like yourself, Jack, and we interview you, and then we share it with our offices to provide support for them, essentially so they're able to close cases and so they're able to attract more high value cases. So we are not just a lead generation company. We're actually a partner. And so one of the best ways we can partner with offices is bringing them people like you. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. So I'll go ahead and start by asking you this question. It might be a little hard for you, but
okay. I'm up for the challenge.
Who's Jack Hadley, and what is My Social Practice?
Now, that's a tough one. Well, I was born at a very early age, like many of you. And I grew – no, I'm not going to start there. Just kidding. So about 20 years ago, I started a little traditional dental marketing company. We did lots of traditional stuff, logos, brochures, postcards, billboards, all those kind of traditional things. And then about in 2008 or 2009, I kind of saw, I had a vision about the future of social media when it comes to small businesses and specifically dental practices. My partner and I didn't really see eye to eye on that vision, and so I sold my interest in that company and founded My Social Practice with my son, Blake. We later brought on a couple more partners, and so we officially started taking on clients in 2009. So we've been doing this for about 9 years now or so. And that's all we do is social media marketing. We're very narrow in our focus, and I'm glad. I learned a lot actually, Charles, by listening to you at the DDMC meeting in Vegas, because you guys deal with some things that we don't deal with much. And while I do read everything I can get my hands on in terms of digital marketing, specifically in dentistry, and I teach social media in the MBA program here at the university, so I'm familiar with a lot of those things, but I don't have the hands-on experience that I have in social media. So I think it's really neat that you guys are doing these live casts and bringing in different perspectives, because there is certainly not one solution that fits all. There's not one tool that is the tool. It's a combination of tools and understanding, having a real digital presence and having a strategy that touches on many different strategies and many different tools.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
What are the? Go ahead, Charles. I know you want to chime in.
No,
here.
I'm hearing a lot of stuff. I like that. You said there's not one solution for everybody, and I think that's a good point to keep in mind as we have this conversation today. Is that we're going to be discussing a lot of different perspectives and strategies to use social media in particular to attract high value patients. And so just think about how these things can fit for your practice. Maybe some of them might require just slight tweaks or adjustments. But they definitely can get you results, but you don't have to try to do everything. And in fact, I think that's a recipe for failure, is trying to do too much, but just kind of listen for maybe one or two ideas that you can take away from this conversation and implement right away and try to get some results.
Yeah, and Charles, more to that point, more so than ever before, these different tools and strategies really go hand in hand. It used to be that they were kind of in silos. So if you were doing search engine optimization on your website and maybe some AdWords kinds of stuff, and then the idea back years ago was, oh, maybe we should post some of this stuff on our social media. It was kind of like they were different things, like different silos. And today they really work in harmony if you really understand how they work well.
Yes, that's totally true.
All right. So what are the biggest myths, misconceptions, and mistakes holding dentists back from being successful with social media?
I think there's one or two that come to mind that are kind of the biggies. The first one that I think is a real biggie is that I think a lot of practices don't understand that effective social media marketing really starts inside the practice, not online. It does not start on the internet, which seems counterintuitive because these tools are all internet-based tools, right? But the practices that really see effectiveness in their efforts are the ones that understand that they have face-to-face relationships that are very important and very unique. There are not very many businesses in the world that have relationship-based businesses that are based on these kinds of intimate relationships. I mean, these people they're face-to-face, they're knee-to-knee, they're hand-to-mouth. This is an intimate relationship. And when you have the privilege and blessing of having a business like that, the important thing is to understand that the effectiveness starts in the practice. So there are practices that maybe their website company calls them and says, hey, we're doing social media now, and we'll auto-post a couple of graphics to your Facebook page for you twice a week, and then you can check off social media. You don't need to worry about it anymore. And they think that that's what social media marketing is, find that what they're doing is not effective. So social media marketing starts in the practice, not online. I think that's the first mistake that I see many practices make.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I want to chime in because I'm hearing something that just is crystal clear and I think should be shouted from the rooftops, which is, social media is a tool to showcase your patient relationships. And like you're saying, Jack, it starts in the practice. That means you actually need to have an understanding of what is your patient relationship first. Before you start to go online and try to market it, you probably should think about, well, how well are we managing our patient relationships? What is it about our relationship with our patient that we even want to showcase to the world? What's your story? What is it that makes you unique? Why are your patients choosing you? I think you kind of need to sit down, unplug from all this technology and actually think about those things before you put together a strategy. You've got to have a really good understanding of what you want to project to the world before you start to go trying to figure out all the technical stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point, Charles. And it's more, it's not just about branding, because we've been taught for many, many years in the dental industry, dental marketers like ourselves have taught and practices understand the power of branding. And I get a little bit discouraged sometimes when I see dental marketing companies focusing too much on branding. that the branding is not what it used to be. People are not as concerned about the appearance of a website, for example, or the appearance of a logo, for example. Branding means what you just said, which is highlighting the stories that make the experience of being your patient unique. And I always say anything that makes you and your team more human, more approachable, more transparent, more honest, more forthright, more accessible. Anything that does that is what I like to call the new branding.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to use social media for a dental practice. What is a good framework or approach to develop a successful social media strategy?
I just wrote a little book about this very topic. I just finished it about a month ago. It's called Your Social Practice. And the premise behind the book is that I think the secret sauce is a three-part formula. It's very, very simple. It's publish, ask, and distribute. You have to publish content that is share-worthy and interesting to people. And that means many times it's not dental related. It has to do with things that people want to talk about, things happening in the community, things that are related to the relationships like we've been talking about. The second component is you can't do it alone, nor should you, because the power of social media marketing is not in finding strangers to become patients. It's in turning patients into advocates. And so by inviting and asking patients to help you, whether that's publishing a review or maybe taking a photo and posting it on their social media accounts and tagging the practice, or sometimes that means maybe telling a little story about how your practice helped change their life. That kind of inviting a patient to help you is a critical second component of effective social media marketing. A lot of times practices are a little sheepish about doing that. I think what you do is you look at your schedule and you identify the opportunities. You know your patients really well. And you know that 2 out of 100 that come in this week have a story to tell. So invite them to tell the story or invite them to write a review. And number 3 is you have to understand the pay-to-play model today. You have to make sure that you can distribute content so that people see it, because people cannot share or engage in content that they don't see. And in the old days, they would see your stuff without you having to pay to play. But it's a pay-to-play model now. So for example, on Facebook, you've got to boost your content. So publish, invite, and distribute. I think that's the 3-part secret sauce to being effective in social media marketing today for dentists.
Elijah, actually, I kind of want to unpack some of Jack's thoughts and just dig into some of the ask part in particular, because I think, like you said, that's the area where practices are having the biggest challenges. Like, how do we get our patients involved in helping us create content? And like you said, they're sometimes a little sheepish about that. I definitely would love to hear some of your strategies to help practices kind of break the ice or make this a little bit more less awkward experience for some practices, and be more of those practices that are just naturally social. Like it's almost like definitely I can imagine some practices having like social media envy about other dental practices on there. It's like, oh my God, like they have so much great content. Look at all these awesome pictures, all these, great patient testimonials or whatever it is. How do they do that? I think we want to help some of our clients get to that point. What would you suggest to help them have that kind of social media feed?
Let me throw out a couple of real quick ideas. And by the way, we certainly don't have time to really dive too deep, but just to let you know, at mysocialpractice.com on our website, there's a little tab that says free stuff. And under that tab, we've actually written an ebook about this very topic, how to better, lots of ways that you can use to better help you ask your patients to help you. So, but let me throw out a couple of ideas off the top of my head that I talk quite a bit about when I lecture. I mentioned the appointment schedule. To me, your appointment schedule, the thing that you look at all day long, and you don't think of it as a marketing tool typically, I think it's the most powerful marketing tool that practice has. And it's because you know the people on that schedule. And let's pretend, just for argument's sake, that 90% of the people on that schedule, they don't really like you that much. They only come in because you take their insurance or you're close by or whatever. That's fine. That still leaves an alpha audience, this kind of core of 10% that are anxious, willing, and able to help you market. You just put your arm around them and you say, Sally, you and your family have been patients at our practice for so long, and we love you so much, and we're so appreciative of the support all these years. Have you ever written a review for us? Because we get more patients just like you, and people like you write a nice review. Would you do that for us today? And don't be afraid to do it. Do it in the right way, in the right tone, to the right person, and you'll almost always get a yes. And when you get a no, you get a no. I mean, it's marketing, right? It's not perfect, and that's okay. So I think overcome the fear, pick the people that you know would not be offended and that you would feel comfortable asking. You don't need 100 reviews a week, right? You need a couple of great reviews a week. So cherry pick the people, put your arm around them and ask them.
Right. Especially if those reviews are video testimonials, which are, amazing media rich thing that we can put all over the place. And like you said, you just need one person. If you did that, the 10% of your schedule in a day. I mean, you could find one patient a day to ask. And if you just have the habit of asking every single day, you're going to build up a nice portfolio of this type of feedback. And
Yeah.
I think that's easy.
And it doesn't take a ton of time either. And so the practices that do well on it, rather than saying, okay, team, today's the day we're going to ask everybody for a review or ask everybody to take a photo with us, it's better to just, I think, assign one team member that day, pick one or two people on the schedule to ask, and just make it really simple so not everybody feels burdened by it all the time.
That's a good idea. And the truth is, I mean, it's probably super easy to identify that patient. I mean, you can just glance at the schedule and know instantly who that is. And it's so easy. And you're probably going to have that conversation where you're singing each other's praises anyways. So why not just document it?
Well said, Charles. I agree.
All right. So the next question, if we are focused on attracting high value patients, in particular, dental implants and cosmetic, how might our approach change?
That's a great question. I don't think the approach, I don't think the thinking behind it changes. I don't think the strategy changes, but some of the tactics may in fact change. One of the things that I mentioned in the book is that many times dental marketers only talk about one component of practice growth, and that is new patient acquisition. I'm not in any way minimizing the importance of new patient acquisition. However, in addition to attracting new patients, retaining patients, and getting patients who already like your practice to opt into more goods and services, for lack of a better term, also grows practices. And I've read studies that show that the vast majority of patient bases do not know all the things that their doctor does. They know if they get a toothache, they should call. And they know that a couple of times a year they should come in for a checkup. But do they know that you do implants? Do they know that you do cosmetic cases? Do they know that you do clear braces? Or do you even something small? Do they know you do cold sore therapy or gum contouring treatment? Sometimes many of the things that you do, people don't know that you do them. And so social media is a great tool for talking about those kinds of things in many different ways. You can talk about them clinically, but you can also talk about them in terms of case studies and patients that have benefited from those treatments. And I think that absolutely applies to implants. I think the opportunity to put your arm around a patient whose life you have literally changed, and I don't mean that I'm not trying to be over dramatic. Sometimes practices are so close to the things that they do to help people, they don't realize how life-changing they are. And when you change somebody's life in terms of them being able to eat again and smile again and all the things that come along with a great implant case, to put your arm around them and invite them to tell that story on social media and tag the practice is a huge benefit. And so the tactic, I think, can be tweaked. I don't think the thinking behind the tactic changes.
Awesome.
Great point. In fact, Jack, if you want to spend a few minutes and just brainstorm with me here, I would like to share what I think are some pretty specific tactics to start attracting more high-value patients.
I'd love to hear them. Yeah.
And so the first one is exactly what you said. I mean, is getting the patients to share their experience of having that smile transformation in your practice is absolute gold. And if you can get it on video, even better, because then you can repurpose it across so many different channels, not just on Facebook, but you can use that in postcards and email campaigns. You can take some of that and put it on a landing page for AdWords. So once you've got that media, it becomes this tool that you can use all over the place. So that's definitely number one. But it starts with the content, like you were saying before, as far as like what you should be producing for Facebook. Think about the ways that you can tell the story of that transformation with social media. How can you educate? And so maybe the doctor can just give a quick little 2-minute Facebook Live about what are the differences between teeth replacement options, and show models the same conversation that you might have with the patient in front of you. And now that is an educational tool that a patient might see. You can just showcase before and after pictures of smile transformations. That's one. Now, there's some specific terms and conditions that prohibit us from boosting those particular pictures.
Sure.
But if you've got a large audience on Facebook, as far as patients who like you, a lot of them will still see that. And it can help build awareness that you do these types of things in your practice. Jack, if you've got any other ones, you can definitely throw a few out there.
Well, let me comment on your first one, because I think it's super powerful, and we're having a lot of success with our clients using Facebook Live to simply do a simple Q&A. You know, Facebook Live is an amazing tool right now, and now that that small business owners have the capability to do that, many of our dental practices are taking advantage of that, and it's not hard to do. You simply put that amazing high-definition movie camera, it's called your iPhone, and you put it on a little tripod and you set it on your desk. And all you got to do is make sure you got good lighting, get next to a nice bright window, and turn on the camera and look. And from the depths of your soul, this won't come hard for you because you're passionate about dentistry. So look into the camera as if you're talking to a patient and say, you know, I'm often asked, what is the difference between an implant and some other? You simply answer a question. What are the two best ways to make sure that an implant is successful? Or I'm often asked, what is an implant? I don't understand what an implant. Let me take 60 seconds and explain to you what an implant is, and just explain it. And the cool thing right now, as you guys well know, Facebook is actually pushing that content out aggressively. And it's because it increases page time on Facebook. And when Facebook can do that, which we're probably doing right now, we're increasing page time on Facebook, which helps Facebook make more money on advertising. So it wins for everybody. Facebook's a big proponent right now of Facebook Live, and it's a good time for practices to use Facebook Live. And a Q&A, like you mentioned, is a great way to do it.
Right. And then once you have that content, you can then create additional campaigns. So this might be a little bit more advanced, but you could, you know, if you've got, you're building an audience of all the people maybe who have watched that video, and then you can retarget those video viewers with an offer. If they watch the video about you explaining, you know, how to replace your teeth with dental implants, they're probably interested in that. And so you can send them an offer, hey, come in for a consultation and find out what your personal treatment plan might look like. And so you're able to build up an audience, kind of getting the people who are on Facebook, the ones that are paying attention to your content are actually raising their hand saying they might be interested in your offer. So they're good people to follow up with other campaigns.
I think it's a good point that you're making, Charles, is that it's okay to tie that to an offer. I often say that social media is not the place to, quote, sell dentistry, but it is the place to earn the permission to sell dentistry. In other words, marketing today it's permission-based marketing. And when you have a social media presence that earns the trust of people, and that's in doing a lot of the things we've been talking about today, people don't mind being marketed to. If you have a great service and you do a good job and you're passionate about it, people don't mind you making an offer or talking about the things that you do if it's in the context of earning trust more globally. Like if you just go on there every day and you're just like, buy this, offer, then people just tune it out. I mean, people don't like to be preached to. They don't like advertising, quote unquote, but they will, they don't mind you marketing if you've earned the trust to market to them.
Yes, absolutely. And that was actually kind of the core point of my talk at the DDMC, which is that your marketing is a tool for you to deliver value to the marketplace. And if you make that your primary intention, not necessarily to sell anything, not to get a new patient, not to build your brand, but to actually answer the questions that your prospective patients might be struggling with finding, you know, and just giving them information, giving them confidence to make a decision, giving them whatever they need to just move a little bit closer to that smile that they're looking for, and do that. Whether they choose you or not as their dentist, ultimately, just don't make that an issue. Just give them value. If you do that well, you're going to see your audiences grow, you're going to see your engagement grow, and you're definitely going to see patients reaching out to you to come into your practice.
Well, and I was super impressed, Charles, at the DDMC. I'll mention it one more time, not to blow smoke or up your skirt, but the idea here is that you guys know how to do the tactical stuff, and you're really good at that. But the thing about you guys that makes you different is that you understand the context that we've been talking about tonight. And you're not just recommending to practices that they come in, guns blazing and sell stuff. And I think that's one of the great things that I was very impressed with about you guys and your company.
Thanks, Jack. Before we get into the next question, I have a comment to make. So everybody talks about Google AdWords marketing or social media marketing or radio marketing. And I think that people really need to start owning emotional marketing. I think people, they buy, they act on, they educate themselves on emotion. So when people start understanding emotional marketing, I think that they'll be very successful. So for example, when you have a patient that comes in and they're bawling, crying because you just changed their life. I mean, that exists. That happens. That is the stuff that needs to be showcased on social media. You have the ability to boost something like that, or you have the ability to boost a before and after picture, which is going to get taken down most likely from Facebook. Or you have the ability to post an offer. And from a social media standpoint, to me, it makes all of the sense in the world to make sure everyone is affected from emotional marketing. And so if you can capture that and post that onto your page, it makes all of the sense in the world. Here's something else that I've noticed and seen from social media marketing is that you can drive somebody to your page with something. When they get to that page, they can scroll down and see other things. So something that they may see is a before and after picture. So just because you can't boost them side by side because Facebook isn't allowing you to, you can still post them. But I think people should lead with emotional marketing.
Great point.
Yeah, great point. And if you are having trouble showing some of the things that Facebook doesn't approve, you can always make comments. In other words, it could not be the main. And we have a lot of practices making a habit of doing this. Instead of making that the post itself, they will simply chime in the comments and either link out to those things that they want to be seen. That there's other ways to kind of get around that. So I think that's a great point. I wholeheartedly agree, Elijah.
Absolutely. And I think now is a good chance. There was only one other person who responded saying, what is the average amount that a practice should spend on social media ads? Thank you so much for responding. That was Robin Bedich, I believe. And she says $200. Jack, if I had to ask you, I know it varies per where you are, but on average, what do you think that you can be very successful with on social media with an ad, as far as an ad spend is concerned?
Yeah. Before I answer that question, let me make sure that we're clear on terminology, because many times practices that are kind of new to this space are a little unsure when you use the words boost and ads. And let me just clarify really quick. There are essentially, to simplify it, there are two ways to spend money on Facebook. You can run ads and you can boost posts. And so I think even though you used the word ads in the question that you posed to our audience, I think what you meant was what's a good amount of money to consider budgeting for boosting posts, because running ad campaigns is a different animal, as you guys well know. And I think when you start talking about money, I think if you are in the range of budgeting $100 to $300 a month to try to get some of your good content seen again, because it used to be seen and now it's not seen anymore unless you boost it, I think a couple of $100 a month is absolutely doable and a great place to start. You'll find you'll very quickly discover how far it takes you. And obviously, you spend more, it'll take you farther. But we have practices that are super effective with a couple $100 budget for boosting good posts a month. Make sure you're boosting good posts. Don't boost stuff that when people actually do see it, they don't care, because that's a waste of money. So, but boost stuff if they do see it, that they'll engage with it. They'll click the like button, or they'll share it, or they will make a comment. I think if you're spending on the other side of the equation, if you're looking at Facebook advertising, I think your budgets have to be much more significant. I think if you can only carve out a couple of $100 a month to throw towards Facebook, I think boosting is a better strategy than running ads. But that's just been my experience. And maybe some of our viewers could chime in with their experiences as well. But I think you have to have a more substantial budget to be really effective with Facebook advertising.
Can you go ahead and define the difference between boosting and advertising, and then what is a substantial budget?
Yeah, well, the way I view boosting posts is that many of the things that we've been talking about tonight, which are taking a photo with a patient, for example, having the patient maybe take it with their phone and post it to their social media, and the practice simply shares it. Boosting content like that on Facebook, putting $10 towards it or $20 towards it, going into the back end and kind of choosing some targets of who you'd like to see that kind of a post. To me, that's what boosting is about. It's not running ads. Ads is a little more complicated, not a lot more, but most of the practices that I've seen have success running ads, they're having an agency or some marketing guy that really understands Facebook advertising help them with that. And in terms of budgets, I haven't seen a lot of practices do a lot that's successful for under $1,000 to $2,000 a month minimum. I know practices that are spending $8,000 to $10,000 a month on Facebook advertising. So you could spend a lot of money, and it can be very effective. But it's not the kind of thing that you're just going to assign the front desk girl or the hygienist and say, hey, start spending $2,000 a month on Facebook ads. Good luck. That's not going to work very well. But you can train that front desk person to make good decisions about boosting good posts, and with that couple of $100 budget.
Yeah, I totally agree with the smaller budgets, the boosting, and especially if you follow Elijah's advice and create that emotional content, then the boosting plus the fact that the content's already getting engagement, you're going to see that get very good visibility in the marketplace. So your money's actually going to go much farther if you create good content.
Man, yeah. And something sticks out to me with what you said is at the very end. You said for someone to be effective in running a campaign, really you want to see them spending around $1,000 to $2,000. Some spend $8,000 to $9,000, and that circles back to the point you made about you have to pay to play. As Charles and I are just doing dental implant marketing, we are recommending that people spend on a budget between $2,000 and $2,500. And sometimes people panic and they say, well, we're just going to go ahead and try social media.
Yeah.
Well, really, at the end of the day, regardless, you got to pay to play. And that's a huge point that you made. And I think it's extremely important that everybody hears that loud and clear. You have to pay if you want to be in front of the right people and you want to be seen.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of confusion out there today because the word Facebook is often common to both sides of that. And people are confused as to what is Facebook social media marketing and what is Facebook advertising. And they are different animals, and you treat them in different ways.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Actually, I think now is a good time for us to kind of transition into one of the questions on our list was, how is Facebook different as a marketing channel from some of these other digital marketing opportunities that we have, like AdWords, which is another pay for play channel. And I think we can really get into the details there, because I think there's ways that they can work together, and there's ways that they are also very, very different. And you can't take the same strategy and have success on both channels.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned to you last week when we were just chatting, Charles, is that personally, I do not have a lot of experience with AdWords marketing for dental practices. I talk a lot about it in our MBA class, but that's always from an enterprise perspective. For example, how is BMW or Nike utilizing those kinds of tools? From a small business perspective, I don't have a lot of experience, hands-on experience with that. So I can certainly speak to the pros and cons of Facebook advertising, but in terms of AdWords advertising and how it compares, I always refer that out to people that are a lot smarter than I am.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm a lot smarter than you, but actually the AdWords is definitely our area of expertise. That's actually what Driven Dental Implant Marketing uses as our primary channel. And I can probably sum it up into just a couple quick sentences as to why we go there instead of Facebook. And it comes down to urgency. If you think about Facebook, really, it's a broadcast channel. We have the ability to do this laser targeting with all of the different options that Facebook offers us in terms of paid advertising. I mean, you can select the demographic, the location, the income, the interest, all of these different things. So you can really narrow down your audience. But ultimately, if a person is in that audience that actually needs the service that you're marketing, it's still left up to chance. And so Facebook is a better channel that's used to create awareness. Which, you're right. If you're looking at, there's kind of different phases from a patient going from, like we call it the patient journey. They go from awareness to consideration to finally making a decision of walking into practice and learning more about treatment. And so Facebook is a good channel to create awareness. It's to get in front of those people that are just thinking about it. And maybe, they might do it sometime in the future. But the truth is, when they were on Facebook, they weren't thinking about dental implants. They weren't thinking about their smile. They were looking at funny memes or looking to see what their family or friends are doing and all that kind of stuff. And then your ad pops up. And yes, they're curious. So they might click on it, which is very easy to do with the campaigns. But then some of the challenges we've seen our clients have with Facebook campaigns is that, they're building a big list, but because the urgency isn't there, they struggle sometimes with contacting them and getting these patients to actually show up for consultations. So AdWords is actually a solution to that in that it targets patients that are a little bit farther along that funnel. They've already decided that they need treatment. So we know that already. And there's proof in that because they sat down at the computer, they actually started searching. Number two, we know that they're ready now at least to learn more because otherwise they wouldn't be searching about it.
That's right.
And so there's some urgency there, like something has triggered them to find an answer. And then finally, we know they're at least a little bit educated about the specific service of dental implants because that's what they actually typed in. So we know so much more about the people on AdWords, and they're a lot more ready to actually contact us and have a meaningful conversation. And that's why we invest more of our money there, because they're going to get more conversations from AdWords campaigns versus building awareness with Facebook.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting, as you were explaining that, in my mind, it went to some of the parallels of the old Yellow Pages strategy, which was the reason practices were in the Yellow Pages. Well, first of all, it was the only place to be. There wasn't really anything else. But the interesting thing about the Yellow Pages is that there was a lot of urgency. If people went there, it's because they were ready to do something. Yeah. And that tool worked amazingly well during its era. And really what you've described is that same urgency, that same I shouldn't maybe say urgency, but they are in fact further down the funnel in making a decision. And I think that's a very good point you make about that, Charles.
Good. Wow. Yeah.
I have my chime in. Jack, do you have any more to say about basically how social media is different than Google AdWords besides what Charles said before I chime in?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first off, man, talk about, I like the word mic droppers. When you say something really powerful, you can just drop the mic and walk off the stage. Well, you have my mouth wide open. I'm going to have to get a screenshot of that because I was so impressed. You say Google AdWords is similar to the Yellow Pages. I mean, the old Yellow Pages. And you are so right. And I never even thought about that. Before even I knew anything about Google AdWords, look, got a company with Google AdWords now, but before I even knew about it, I would always say, nah, don't do the Yellow Pages. They don't work. Just have a listing. But it makes a whole bunch of sense now that you say it like that. People are searching dentists. They're searching dentists. So it makes sense to have a big ad. Hello, Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense.
Or if they're not searching dentists, they're searching implants. They're searching something very specific. I don't know how many people anymore go to Google to find a dentist. In other words, I don't know that they put into their search engine, best dentist in Provo, Utah, and then make a decision based on that. But I think that they will make a decision based on something that's more specific and targeted, like implants, for example.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so this is actually a really good segue to give you my perspective on how social media is different than other marketing channels, in particular AdWords. And so I want to kind of discuss a case study that Charles and I both did. And it was the foundation of Driven Dental Implant Marketing. And I think you'll like this a lot, Jack. So I was coaching, I no longer do it anymore, but I was coaching offices all over the United States, from Honolulu to Maui to Miami to Albuquerque to Arizona to Chicago to, everywhere and everywhere in between, right? And what we did is we said, you know what, we go out to dentists all the time and we say, how is your marketing doing? And they would say, well, it's doing all right. Okay, well, how is it doing? Is it doing good, bad? Well, it's doing pretty good, but I think I'm going to stop with this magazine that I'm doing, or I think I'm going to stop with this billboard. And I said, okay, well, what was your return on investment? And they would, on the regular, tell me, you know what, you have a good point. I don't know. And as a serial entrepreneur, something that's always in my head is ROI. What was your return on investment? And they couldn't answer. So this is around the time where Charles and I started working together. And so we said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go and we're going to attach unique phone numbers to all of your marketing sources. And this is for all of the offices all across the country. And when we attach that unique phone number, we're going to track it. We're going to actually see how many people called your phone, how many people came into your office. We're going to track it. And what we found out is that some things worked very well, some things didn't hardly work at all, and some things were very consistent. What we found is that things such as ZocDoc works really good some places. Other places, it doesn't work so good.
Right.
Yelp, paid through Yelp. Sometimes paid ads through Yelp worked really good. Other places, not so much. But what we found to be very consistent across the board were two things. The first thing was social media marketing, and the second thing was Google AdWords. And so this was across the country, everywhere it worked. There wasn't a place that it didn't work. So Charles and I said, you know what? We're actually going to go out and we're going to become the expert. We're going to teach people, or I'm going to teach people social media, and then I'm going to actually do these ads. Well, you remember, Jack, I was teaching people for a little bit. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I remember.
But I said, you know what? We're going to actually do Facebook ads and Google ads. And so what we found out from that a step further is that it was really difficult to do a whole bunch of things for people. So we said, you know what? We're going to niche down. So we niched down into Google AdWords. And then we did case studies on Google AdWords. We did cases on emergency patients. For emergency patients, we did patients that needed sleep apnea. So they would type in sleep apnea dental office or emergency dental office. We did implants. We did Invisalign. You name it, we did it. What we found to bring the by far highest return on investment is when we focused on dental implants. And then we went and we went out to be the best at one niche thing, which was dental implants. And so what is my point? My point is that we know what works. And we know social media works. And we know AdWords works. And let's bring the two together. So when we are doing these ads, or when you're doing these ads through social media, when practices are doing ads, they go to the website. And when they go to the website, we have the ability to essentially tag that person that went to the website. And then through if we do that through our ads, say we do that through AdWords, if we do that through the ads, we can retarget them through social media.
Yeah.
So I think that is where everything kind of comes full circle is you drive this traffic, all this paid traffic to Google Ads, and you can retarget them on social media. Charles, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think you explained the evolution of all of these aha moments that happened to us over this journey together. end up where we are now with Driven Dental Implant Marketing. And implants by far the highest return on investment, mostly because of the patient value is so high, and so that's why you're able to invest more in marketing, because you get a much higher return. Now, these paid channels definitely still work for emergency and for Invisalign and for all these others, but you have to consider two things. I think this is important. It depends on what service you're marketing, because each of them are very different. An emergency patient has totally different decision criteria than an Invisalign patient. They have different timelines. They have different budgets. They have different problems that they're trying to solve. And so you can't have the same conversation with every single patient. So you have to think about, well, who am I talking to? And think of these all as very separate campaigns. That's number one. And then number two, a key point of these different services, they have different decision timelines, right? So an emergency patient, they want to come in right now. It's going to be pretty easy to get a conversion if you put the right offer out in front of those patients. This is mostly about timing. But when you think about a service like dental implants, that's much more high value, where the patient is going to have to think about it a lot more. And maybe they're a little nervous about having a surgery, and oh my God, it's going to cost more than $10,000. There's a lot of thinking that goes into that. They still want it, but they've got to go through this whole journey. And so what we need to have in place is a more robust marketing system where we can educate and nurture and stay in front of them and build that trust and authority until finally they're ready to make a decision. And then we become the obvious best choice. And so that's what we've done. And you can use social media to build awareness and then continue to nurture and educate until they're finally ready to say yes to an offer.
That's an interesting way of positioning the relationship between AdWords and social media, Charles. Both you and Elijah have kind of outlined. That's a very unique and kind of visionary way to talk about that. And I hadn't really thought much about that before. But what you've done is you've sort of created a 1-2 punch with AdWords almost sandwiched between effective social media. In other words, we're using social media to build trust and to build the permission to market. We're coming in with some strong AdWords strategies to follow up on that. And then we're actually using retargeting and other social media strategy to talk about the things that we're doing with AdWords. So it's kind of like back and forth with those two strategies working together. And what we ought to do is we ought to create some case studies. We ought to use some of our clients and do some more case studies with this very specific strategy, because I think it could be super effective.
Yeah, I'm totally. In fact, if you're listening to this and you think you would be a great case study, reach out to us and definitely we'll have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Before we do our last question, I want to go ahead and answer a couple of these. The first one is, Cheryl says, this may be a dumb question, but does Google AdWords equal pay-per-click? Well, first off, Cheryl, there's no dumb question. That's what these live casts are all about. And that's I'm sure there's a lot of other people. We should never assume that people know what AdWords are and what pay-per-click. Yes, that does equal pay-per-click. Whenever you hear pay-per-click, you will get that, but you can also pay-per-click on social media as well. So essentially, when you're a pay-per-click is exactly what it says. Anytime somebody clicks, you pay, basically. But yes, it can be AdWords, and it also can be social media ads as well. So that's not a silly question at all. The next thing that somebody asked was, will it work best by asking 2 people per day than your most happy and satisfied patients per day? Getting them to write a review is not easy. People forget to write them. They get caught up with life, and they did not make the review. What is your thoughts on that?
That's absolutely certainly a common problem. As I understand your question, I think we're talking about the same thing. I think what the viewer brought into the idea, do you pick a patient that was most satisfied that day? I don't see any problem with that. The only thing that might be an issue is that if you don't have a very long-standing relationship with them, like let's say this is their first appointment, and yes, they do have a good experience, but they still don't have the depth of relationship with the practice yet. the team may feel a little more sheepish about asking them. And so I don't think there's any problem with doing that. And every practice would be a little different. And I think you certainly try it. But my recommendation was based more on picking the people that you already have a long time relationship with, that you know that you can't offend, because they're people that you know, they're the people you go bowling with, they're the people that it's your cousin, and that they've been a family in the practice all day, or for many, many years, and nobody knows it's your cousin, but it's your cousin. So I think that's a great question. I don't think there's any problem with doing that. It's probably a case-by-case basis. I just think you want to make it as easy as you can for the team, and that's in the long-standing relationships.
Yeah, awesome. Super easy. I think, again, just starting with who are you most looking forward to seeing that day? I mean, you know who they are. Who do you know you're going to have fun with, when they come into the office, the highlight of your otherwise pretty stressful day. That's the person you want to ask. And if you focus on doing those people, that's going to get your team in the habit of asking. And then it gets easier with the people that you don't have such a great relationship with. So start there, and it gets much easier.
Yeah, and I don't want this to sound like you're being sneaky, quote unquote, or anything, but there's no harm in identifying the patients you have great relationships with that are in fact active on social media. Remember, never forget, one like isn't one like. One like represents one network of people that could potentially be affected by that engagement. So sometimes practices get really discouraged because they go, oh, we did this great thing and it only got 2 likes. And I always say, no, it didn't get 2 likes. It got connected to 2 networks.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a mic dropper for real.
Drop the mic, Jack. Hey, listen, if you haven't heard Jack in person, I would highly recommend you go come out and hear him as a speaker. He actually spoke on my second Smiles at Sea back in April of 2016. Since then, we've had about 6 of them. And man, Jack, we'd love to have you back. We actually have one of your partners, Adrian, coming on the September cruise. And man, if he's even half of the speaker you are, he's going to rock it.
Well, we arm wrestled, and Adrian beat me, or I would be there on this next one, not him.
And Seth Barr, he actually listens to quite a few of our live casts. I've seen him on here before, and he says, "I am a chiropractor, and this stuff is gold for all practices." And then he says, "I've heard that doing ads on Facebook that have links to take the traffic away from Facebook actually hurts your page's organic reach." Can you speak on this?
Let's see. So it actually hurts your when Seth, when you say your pages, do you think he means does he mean your Facebook page, or let's see? I've heard that by doing ads on Facebook that have links in them that take traffic away from Facebook, it actually hurts your page's organic reach. Yeah.
I want to chime in on that if you don't want to.
Yeah, would you? I don't know.
Absolutely. So I think they call you or they schedule an appointment, putting a Facebook logo that brings them to Facebook could absolutely be counterproductive. However, if you are running ads, you absolutely want to take them away from your Facebook page, send them to a landing page that is extremely specific to the offer that you have, and get the patient to give their information, meaning call you, give their email, phone number, name, chat with you, something. And we actually are very big on that, creating landing pages that essentially, if they click the link, it goes to a landing page that allows you to collect their information. Because what are they going to do? Sit on your Facebook and just, what are they going to do on Facebook?
Yeah.
You want to
Facebook is trying hard to be more conversion friendly, but it's certainly not there yet. And the model that people are used to is the one that you described. So I think you're right. I think that's a better strategy, right? At least right now.
Absolutely.
It's all about relevance and creating a good experience for the user. I mean, if you have a link in a Facebook ad and it goes somewhere that's totally not related to that ad, I mean, that's not going to be good for anybody. So
right.
What you want is to have content that enhances the ad itself and is valuable for the person that you're targeting. And then in terms of your page's organic reach, if you're talking about your Facebook page, if you've created a good ad that gets a lot of engagement, and that is a post on your Facebook page. And in fact, I think it can help your page because you're adding to the engagement that's happening across your page.
Yeah, and that's why I was a tiny bit, I think it was Seth that asked the question. I was a tiny bit confused because I wasn't sure if you were referring to the, quote, organic reach of a Facebook page. Because really, I don't know that there really is any organic reach of a Facebook page anymore. I mean, we used to have something called affinity on Facebook. That was sort of an algorithm that implied that there was organic possibilities, organic reach. But Facebook's just pay to play, and so I don't. If that's what you meant, Seth, I wouldn't worry about the organic reach of your Facebook page, quite frankly.
Yep, I agree. All right, Jack. Last question. What are some of the value propositions of My Social Practice? How can this platform and community help dentists to be successful with mastering their social media efforts and attracting high-value patients?
I can summarize that in like one sentence, and that is that many times over the last 9 years, I have heard the comment from practices, whether I'm in a lecture setting or just on the phone with a practice or whatever, that we don't have time to do this. And I totally understand that. Believe me, I'm in enough practices to know how stretched teams are in terms of their time. But here's the important point. I really don't think it's about time. It's about knowing what to do. Because every single month for 9 years, we've picked a practice, one of our clients, that's just killing it in terms of effectiveness on social media. And every time, almost in every case, when we ask them, how much time are you using to be effective in social media marketing? They almost always say something like, a couple hours a week. Many times I'll have a practice come up and say, hey, Jack, do we need to hire a full-time millennial to do all this stuff? Because we don't have time to do it. That's not it. If someone came to me and said, Jack, can you put a crown on my tooth? Guess what? I could do it, but it would take me years to do that because I'm not a dentist. I'd have to go to dental school, and then I'd have to right? But a dentist knows how to do that instantly because they know exactly what to do in the time that they have, right? So I always say My Social Practice was built with one objective, and that is to make a practice know exactly what to do in a very limited amount of time. And that's in part what drives what we call our engagement ideas, where we come up with things that are trending, things that a practice can do in 5 or 10 minutes that will get engagement. It's no longer about just posting a cute graphic on your page. That worked 9 years ago. It doesn't work today. So that's the value that we bring. We work with someone in the practice to make you effective in a very, very short amount of time. Awesome.
Jack, how can somebody get a hold of you if they want to reach out to learn more about My Social Practice?
You're welcome to send me an email directly. It's just jack@mysocialpractice.com. Or if you go to our website, mysocialpractice.com, you can click on the contact page or whatever, where you can schedule a quick demo. And one of our team members will just do a screen share with you, take 20 minutes and kind of show you how we fit with things you're already doing. That's the best way. And don't forget, even if you're not ready to be our client or whatever, subscribe to our content, because we publish so many things that will help you. Whether or not you choose to become our client one day, that's not the point. We can really help you become more effective at whatever level you're already working at.
Yeah, awesome. For sure. I'm definitely, we'll post a link to the site also in the comments to this live cast. But there's a particular page on your website that I was super excited by. And there's it's a free resources page where there's a bunch of different ebooks and short webinars and videos that are totally free that a practice can use and really get a head start just by looking at that stuff. And so go there, check out some of that thing. If you're struggling with just where do I start, that's a great place to go.
Also, right now, we're doing a little thing because I just released my book. And if somebody would like a free, you can go on Amazon and pay $29 for it if you'd like, which is fine. Or you can have our team ship you a free one. So we just created a little bit.ly actually today. if someone goes to bit.ly, bit.ly, bit.ly/Jack Hadley, it'll take them to a little landing page where they can actually opt into getting a free copy of my book if they'd like to do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then for those of you who are interested in learning about how do the two things work together, and you want to be a part of a couple of case studies that Driven Dental Marketing and My Social Practice do together, feel free to go to www.drivendentalmarketing.com and schedule a 15-minute strategy call. But in the details, make sure you put case study, social media meets AdWords.
Yes.
Put that social media meets AdWords, and we'd love to take you on as a case study and help you out in your practice and do a double dose of success. So
I'm excited about that. I am so glad that idea just kind of came out of this discussion today. This could be really a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We're super excited. So thank you guys so much. If you want to get a hold of Jack Hadley, we'll go ahead and put his email in the notes. If you want to get a hold of Charles or myself, just go to www.drivendentalmarketing.com and schedule a 15-minute strategy session. So thank you so much, Jack. Charles, yes. As always, you're amazing. Any last words?
No, this was awesome. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate all your knowledge, and looking forward to putting those case studies together. I think they're going to be really fun to showcase once we get them done.
Thank you for inviting me, and thanks for the friendships. Life's too short to not do business with people that you like. And we've just always had a great relationship, Elijah, and I've got this newfound friendship with Charles as of just a couple of months ago. So thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
All right.